This giant I-beam weighs 1,000 pounds. Today, Roman and I are going to be lifting it up above our heads, and we're going to be installing it right underneath the ceiling, so that way we can knock out this wall. Hey everybody, you're watching Cole the Corn Star, and welcome to the 100% restoration and remodel of my great-great-grandfather's $7,000 mansion, and welcome to Corn Star Farms. For Roman and I's project today, we are trying to get everything 100% ready to be able to pour footings and foundation walls in the underground movie theater. But before we can get the footings and foundation walls poured over here, we need to finish up all of the big work in the existing basement, because once we get footings and foundation walls over here, we will not be able to get equipment in and out, which means that we will not be able to get big stuff in and out, which means that the work that we have left over here would be nearly impossible to do. So the big thing that we need to get done in the existing basement is around these poles. We want to remove these poles because not only are they ugly, they are also in the way. And the only way that we can remove these poles is by removing this big, giant wooden beam and replacing it with an even bigger giant steel I-beam. And that steel I-beam is going to go all the way from here into that back corner. Now, we can't just lay our big I-beam up in here unless we utilize the pole system. So what we have to do, which is what we are going to be working on today, is install a giant I-beam from the top of this wall right here all the way across over to the top of this wall over here. Now, we already have a little bit of preparation in place. Roman and I poured these blocks down here, so that way our post that the I-beam is going to sit on will be able to sit right here, and it will be above the floor. So we have one down here, and then we also have one over on this side. So these are all ready to have a beam set on top of them, or a pole that will hold up our beam. And then on top of our wall right here, we did get this poured, so that will also help support our beam. And then over on the other side, we have the exact same thing. Just a nice little flat spot right here for the beam to be able to sit on. Once we get this new I-beam in place, then we will be able to take the I-beam that is going to go right here, and we will be able to weld the two together, so that way the new beam that we're going to be putting in today will be holding up this big I-beam, which means we will then be able to remove all of these poles that are in the middle of the room. Today's project of installing this giant I-beam may sound simple in explanation, but it is definitely going to be throwing a few different challenges at us. Problem number one, which is the most obvious looking at this beam, it is super thick metal. It's almost as thick as my thumb right there, and as thick as my index finger right there, and it is about as tall as my foot. So in other words, this thing is heavy. Getting that big old heavy beam from up there down to here should be absolutely no problem, because we can use the equipment thanks to the fact that we don't have our footings and foundation walls in place. And actually, getting the beam up into here really shouldn't be too bad. But our second little problem is, how do we get that big old heavy beam from right here all the way over to there? And then once we get it over here, we have another problem, because now we have to take the beam from the ground and then somehow get it 8 feet above our heads. And not only do we have to figure out how to actually get it up there, we also have to figure out how we are going to slide everything in place, because at the moment, this wall is in the way and this beam. Now this beam's not a problem, we can just cut the end off. But this wall, that's a little bit more of a problem. And the reason why that little wall is a problem, because right above it, up in the kitchen, we have this ginormous post. And this post is holding up all of the beams of the ceiling. So basically, everything above our heads is resting right here and putting all of its weight directly on top of that wall. So that means we are gonna have to come down into the basement, jack up the ceiling, knock out this wall, and then lay our I-beam in. I have a feeling that this project is going to be extremely simple. It's just not going to be easy to do, but hey, you know what they say? Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Since our I-beam is gonna come right through here, this is gonna be obvious in the way, but it needs to be also supported in the meantime while we're putting the I-beam in. So we need to build a little structure that's gonna connect to the boards that are staying and not being supported by I-beams. So we're gonna have a gigantic stack of wood, so that way we can take this corner out that's our I-beam is gonna come through, and we can take this stuff out of here.
In other words, since the big post up in the kitchen is right above these 4 floor joists, Roman is going to take another board right inside of here, and then he is going to mount everything to these floor joists. Now, these ones are not going to be moving, and they are sitting on top of our wall that is over here. So if we can attach these floor joists to these ones, then these will not sag down if we temporarily take this out, because we need to basically cut straight down right here in this little slot and then stick our I-beam in. Then once we get our I-beam in, then we will be able to have these supported and we won't have to worry about anything sagging. And we're gonna have to do this quick, because just slapping a little board in here with some screws holding it up, it's not going to be the strongest thing in the world, and we don't want to leave this for a long time because it eventually will sag. But we're hoping we can just temporarily mount this stuff up quick, slide our beam in, and then we'll be good to go.
We hardly started our project and we already have a little problem. I want this screw to reach at least half, ideally the further the better, into this stack of wood. But this screw is not gonna do it, so we're gonna see if there is something that we have in the shop.
In order for us to be able to sandwich all these boards together and then be able to support a load, we could use a ton of screws, but we'd literally be using a lot of these because, yes, these are strong individually, but you start throwing like 1,000 pounds on one of these, you're gonna snap it right off. So we're taking things an extra step further, and I think we're gonna lag bolt everything together just to help make sure things are nice and strong. We don't need it to hold for a long time, but we need it to hold for a little bit, and we don't want it to go anywhere. So we're gonna give these a try. Roman just called me upstairs. He wants me to find a very particular board. We just need one that's a sliver. So one that's maybe like this wide. Anyway, we're gonna bring a couple. We got a few here. That one's almost an inch. This one's like half an inch. And let's see if there's another thin one here. Let's try these two, see what he thinks. There's two here that are thin. Were those what you were thinking?
Yeah. During the process of installation, we got our board busted, so we need to replace it with a new one.
Meanwhile, at the main heated shop on Cornstar Farms.
I haven't filmed in a long time, so hopefully I remember how to do this. Today we're finally gearing up for harvest now, so we're gonna be starting to get ready to get things ready for harvest. And usually we kind of start with trucks, and this year we bought one new hopper. Well, it's a 23, and then we bought another hopper. And we want to try to prevent throwing a lot of rocks on the hoppers and chip them all up. And so this truck here, we call Elmo, it has these half fenders. Well, you still got your back wheels here that are exposed. Yeah, we have mud flaps, but these throw rocks in the trailer and up top, so it gets a bunch of dirt and rocks up there. And same with the Freightliner. It doesn't have any fenders except for quarter fenders in the front here. So we reached out to Rob Marr Plastics. We have these on our white truck and was very happy with them. So we're gonna go ahead and unbox these. And we got fenders, full fenders that'll be going on this truck. There'll be double humps. And then they'll have a set of double humps for this truck as well. So we're gonna unbox this package. Zach just showed up with the mag drill so we can drill all the holes into the frame. Have a clean hole instead of using the plasma cutter. And we're gonna get those out and see what we got in there. So here's our fenders. We got one sitting up here. So you can order your fenders to whatever size of tire you have. So these are like 24.5 talls. Those are 22.5s. And so you got to get a little bigger fender for these tires. We got red fenders for this truck. They offer all kinds of colors. I think they have black, red, silver, blue, like a lime green, forest green. I don't know if there's any other colors or not. But you can go ahead and check out their page. They got double hump fenders like this. They got quarter fenders, and then they got full fenders, which would just look like this one, but goes all the way over the back. I like these double hump ones a little better. I think they throw a little more look at the truck than having just the full. So we went with these for both trucks. We got red ones for this truck, and then we just went black for this truck. Could have went silver, but might look a little odd because it would have been a way different shade. I know that color isn't exact to that truck, but we're also looking at a $10,000 farm truck here, so wasn't too picky on that. But that truck, that's more of a dark gray. The other ones are like, the fenders are like really silver. So we're gonna get everything unpackaged here. We got a couple tires. We got a tire to fix on this truck first, and a tire to fix on this truck before we get these all on. Then here's all of our bracketry in these boxes here. We'll get into that when we are ready to start drilling and mounting all of our holes.
Alrighty, all our wood is in place. All we have to do is just drive these as straight as we can and as far as we can. The more we catch of this stuff on this side, the better.
Roman has our board pack done here now, so everything is nice and screwed together. We decided to abort our lag bolt idea because they weren't quite long enough, so we've got this T30'd a bunch. So we are now ready to get our post located in right here and then get it jacked up from down below. We already got our jacks in place. I did get a post, but this one is too short, so we gotta go find a longer post. This is the building we call the White Machine Shed. It's just right off the side of the house here. We usually put hay inside of this. But right now we have our extra board pile in here, and we didn't measure our post, Roman.
Yeah, I know. But we'll grab the longer one.
Okay.
So
we do have a few different posts here. It looks like this one has kind of maybe seen some better days, but this one, maybe a little too long?
Yeah, I hate to cut it, so you stood the other one up, so compare this one to the one that you had in your hands.
Well, I'm 5'10" on a good day. This is probably 7.5 feet tall and sitting on top of the jack.
I think that's what we want.
Okay.
Or this.
Yeah, that one looks a little better conditioned too.
I mean, it's not gonna split. Just lighter to carry.
Ran into some issues on the Freightliner. Had these wheels on this truck have not been off for a very long time. And we had two flats, so we went to pull them off. Well, long story short, they were seized on there tighter than heck, and one nut rounded off, and then we broke a bud bolt off. So we had to chop it off, and then we had to chop like 3 more lugs off this one, so we have to get new studs. So we're trying to get all new studs for this side, on the driver's side for this truck. So we're on hold right now on this truck trying to get parts, waiting for parts. We had to get new brakes, we had to get new slack adjusters, drums, so we're kind of on hold here. So this truck's basically ready. We're gonna start working on this one. We gotta get this bracket off here from the old fenders. But we just got the air dropped in this truck, and now we're gonna get ready to get the height set. So we drop the air all the way down, and then we usually stick a 3/4 inch block or 1/2 inch block on top of the wheels, and then we set the fenders on. That way when your air is all the way down, you still have a 1/2 inch gap between your fender and your tire. And then when you air it up, then you'll have 3-4 inches of room. But we're gonna go ahead and start messing with these, getting them all squared up. Over here's all of our bracketry. Each fender gets 2 brackets. And then these will bolt on, these will slide on these bars here, and then you bolt these to your fenders. So we're going to start getting these all squared up, and then we'll have to drill holes and so on and so forth. Okay, we are on. Everything is tight. Everything looks square to the world. Come to the back here. Everything looks straight. It's a little deceiving because this mud flap isn't quite straight, but I promise it's straight to the truck.
We now have our jacks in place and the poles sitting up on top of them, so we can get a little bit better visual of what we just did with adding in all the blocking. So right on top of our pole, we ended up screwing all of these boards right here to each other, and then they are screwed over to these 4 boards. Now these 4 boards are going to be the ones that have the I-beam actually underneath of them, so those are the ones we want to support. But we ended up taking that first board, screwing it to that one a bunch, and we took all these other boards and screwed it to that board and that board, that board. So everything is kind of together, and then now that we have our posts underneath, we are simply just going to be able to crank these up, and then that is going to take all the tension off the top of this wall, and then we'll be able to knock everything out that we need to, and then we'll be able to slide our I-beam in there, get it right on top of this wall, get it right up there. We can let these posts out, and then this 4-pack of floor joists right here will sit right on top of our beam. Roman and I are going to divide and conquer a little bit right now. Roman's going to do a little demolition work up here, so that way we have our slot where our beam is going to go. And then I am going to cut our I-beam that is going to fit up in here. So we are actually going to grab a measurement quick so we know how long we need to make this I-beam. And then we will get started. How far off the wall do you want to go, Roman? 171.5?
Yeah. We have a little discrepancy as far as tools. That's because I need a sawzall to cut this beam out of here, because that's where the I-beam is going to be sitting. And Cole is using the I-beam. He's using the sawzall, sorry, to cut the I-beam. So I'll be doing whatever I can without this sawzall for now, and then see how he is making out, so I can use it here.
Our entire opening came out to 170.5 inches, but we want to have our just a little bit of wiggle room, so we're going to make it a bit shorter. So we're going to go to 169 inches. So we are going to cut right here at 14 feet, 1 inch. And for having metal this thick, you'd think we need something super severe to cut it, but actually we have found that the Sawzall with the metal blade on it works pretty stinking good. It works just about as good as anything that we've tried. And frankly, it's the easiest.
Oh, problem that I'm struggling with, that instead of breaking this chunk, this whole thing wants to come out. And I kind of want to keep this layer just in case if we need to temporarily sit our beam on or something. So we keep at it, and I hope we'll be able to break it off.
All right, we got our mess cleaned up. We did some servicing on the truck. Got to fix a couple air leaks. Fenders are DONE. Turned out great. Super easy to install. Now we got to do that truck. Those will be a little more time because we got to drill all the holes for the brackets. But everything turned out super clean. Everything lines up nice. Brackets are all in the same height. You guys will see when we do that truck how you can mount the brackets literally however you want. So we're gonna pull this truck out of here and get the next truck in.
beautiful. If this isn't impressive, I don't know what is. We used a singular blade, we used a 6 amp hour battery, and then we have used 1 bar out of this one right here on this 5 amper. Look at that cut. This is a 12-inch tall I-beam, completely through. Absolutely beautiful. Woo. Okay, so now that is the piece that we are going to somehow get hoisted 8 feet up in the air in the basement. It's 14 feet, 1 inches long, and I don't even know how much that thing weighs.
Did I tell you I have an appointment? I need to leave now.
No, your appointment can wait.
No, it's already set, so I'll see you tomorrow. And now for those people that know their pricing, this blade was $2 on clearance, as well as the other one that we used to cut the beam. I don't know, I guess maybe I'm a deal sucker, but it just makes me happy when you buy a deal like that.
Alright, today me and Zach are working on the Freightliner here. We got Elmo done and the red Volvo done. We put fenders on this truck. Now we had to put fenders on this truck. We got some over there. And we ran into this truck needs brakes, slack adjusters, brake drums. Had a couple flat tires, those fought us getting them off. Now we're going to put the brakes on. We got to put all these new bushings in. And then we'll start putting these brakes on. Zach's taking all the bushings out now. All right, Zach's putting the last brake on now. Got this one on. Got this side on. And how these work is you got your S-cam here. It comes through here. This is your S-cam right here. And then when you press your brakes, there's a big spring in here. This pushes this forward. And it rolls this. So as this rolls, it climbs this little hill, if you want to call it, and then it pushes the brakes out against these big drums, pushes against the inside here. So when you pull your handle out, it sets the brakes and it just expands them out, and that's what holds your truck. And then when you hit your brakes, it does the same thing, expands out. So we're gonna go ahead and start putting these drums on, and then we'll put all the tires on, get those tight, and then once we get them tight, then we'll adjust the brakes, because you want to get everything tight before you do that. Because if you adjust your brakes before you put your tires and stuff on and get them tight, the possibility you might push the drum out just a little bit. So you want to make sure you have all your wheels on before you tighten your brakes down. Now we'll repeat the process on the other 3 and start putting tires on. We got one tire that might have a leak, so we got to get that fixed. And then we get all that done. So these wheels are called Bud wheels. So you have your original stud here, then you put that rim on, then you got to put these studs on, and then you put your nuts on. So this side is reverse thread, so to loosen them you actually tighten them, and then to tighten them you loosen them. They're opposite threads. So these are a little bit more of a pain in the butt, because you can't just take your nuts off and pull your wheels off. You have to take lug nuts off, pull first wheel off, then pull those studs off, and then get that tire off. So it takes a little longer. So we got that one on. Now I'm gonna go do that side, and hopefully we can find the leak in that tire.
Now that we got this honker cut, I'm gonna see if I can pick it up with the forks and see if we can haul it around there down the ramp and bring it into the basement. I need to be very careful going down this ramp, because I don't want my beam to flip off to either side, because it may be a little difficult for us to be able to get it off of one of these super steep banks. We're gonna go nice and carefully, and it looks like this thing is just hugging to my forks like an absolute champion. Look at that. Okay, we made it down nice and easy. For this next part, I'm gonna try to get the beam to go out onto the tips of my forks. Since we have this big dirt pile in the way, I need to be able to somehow extend it over that ledge a little bit and then dump it up off on that ledge. Whoops, too far. Beam fell off the forks. There she be. We got it up there, just barely. Now I don't know how we're gonna move it from there, but we'll figure that out. We have our beam up here now on the ledge. We need to figure out how to get it from right here over to the base of the area where we are going to be lifting it up. Now, before we get too wild with this and come up with creative ways, Roman and I are just gonna see if it's even liftable. If I grab that end and he grabs that end, can we pick it up? I would be kind of surprised if we can. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing's like 700 pounds. But what? We don't know till we try, Roman.
Are you warmed up?
I'm as warm as I'm going to be. Don't drop it on your foot either. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yep. I would assume that's somewhere around 700 pounds. What's the plan, boss?
Well, one thing is actually get it close to there, but another thing, lift it above your head. We need some lifting device.
Okay, well, let's think. How can we get this from here over to here first?
Enough people.
Okay. Now that we got that figured out, how do we get it from there up to there?
Oh, lift it up?
Yeah.
Oh, Zach and I were talking Friday. I asked him if he has some kind of winch or something. He said that he has a winch on a like U-shaped frame. So I was thinking we'll put it on the first floor above where we need to lift it, cut the hole in the floor and drop our hook there.
Lift it right in the middle then?
I would think so.
Oh, we do have a hole in the middle.
Well, it's not quite a middle, but it should be enough because
Enough to balance it.
We can balance it on the bottom.
Okay.
Ready?
All right.
With the help of 2 more people, it was kind of easy to bring it over here, but now we need to lift it all the way up there, which thankfully for Zach, he has a little winch device. I think it's a 12,000 pound winch, which is gonna pick it up no problem. We're gonna wrap around here, cut a hole in the floor, and lift it straight up.
All the tires are back on. Just adjusted the brakes. Now we're getting ready to, we gotta put rear mud flat brackets on. And now we're getting ready to put the Robmar fenders on. Same ones as we put on Elmo, but these are black and these are 24.5 tall fenders. Those are 22.5 regular tires. But we're gonna start mocking these up. Takes a little bit of time to get the first 2 set. This truck we gotta drill all the holes, so that'll take a little longer. But we have Zach's mag drill, so we can just magnet it right to the frame, drill the holes through, and then just start leveling all the fenders and front to back, make sure they're all identical. Takes a little bit of time. This probably take 2-3 hours if I had to guess. So far, we thought we were gonna have to drill new holes for all the brackets. Turns out we were able to use these front holes for the front brackets. Turn these like that. And then we're gonna take a bolt out here and here and put those bolts in for those brackets, so those will go there. And then we just gotta drill one here and one on the other side for the back bracket of these fenders. So we're gonna mark those holes, get those drilled. And right now we're dropping all the air out of the suspension, so we just come back to, this truck does not have a switch to dump the air out of the bag, so we just took our leveling valve arm off here. Air is draining the bags out. When you're doing this, you wanna make sure your air is all the way out. We have a 3.5 inch block underneath the fender, so when we set it down, we got clearance, so when it runs out of air, your fenders don't touch your tires. So we are going to get the mag drill ready and get these back holes drilled so we can get all these arms on, and then we'll start leveling just like that.
The winch that we are going to be using is not ours, and it is buried somewhere at Zach's house. So Zach is going to run to the store. He has to get some stuff. While he is running to the store, Roman and I are going to empty out this truck full of some items that we need to throw off onto the burn pile. We just have some paper bags and a bunch of wood on here. And then by the time we get this done, Zach should be done at the store. Then we are going to meet him at his house, and we are going to pick up the winch, and then we are going to go back and try to winch up the beam. Ah! One, two, three. We now have an empty bed of the truck. We are on our way to Zach's to go pick up the winch. And hopefully this winch system works, because if it doesn't, we don't really have a plan B. This is the plan that is going to work.
If you listen closely, you can hear the gears in Roman's brain turning, trying to think of a plan B.
In order for us to run this winch, we need a battery, so we're robbing one here in the big machine shed, which probably isn't a bad thing, because we need to put these in the heat during the winter time anyway, so they don't go bad. So basically, we just have these terminals right here, and we'll just hook them right up to the top of the battery. And this thing's designed to run off the front of a truck, and since we don't have a truck near it, we're bringing the battery to the winch. Roman is now going to take a screw, and we are going to find center of this beam, which is approximately 7 feet from that corner, which is about right here. And he's going to drill straight up inside of this cavity, so that way it'll put our screw up through the floor. And then I'm gonna go up top, and I'm gonna see where that comes in and see if it's in a good spot. If we are too close to the wall, then we're gonna have to move it a little bit and just kind of work with what we have. We could be potentially too close to this wall right here. Roman's going to be drilling somewhere below, right in this area is where I'm guessing. Ideally, it'd come up about somewhere in here. And then once we know this spot, then we'll take a drill bit, we'll make a bigger hole. And I'm going to try to take this hook off, so that way we just have to make a hole big enough for this loop part, instead of having to make one big enough for this actual hook. So you can drill if you want, Roman. Looking at the piece that we need to get the hole cut for, we need a hole like this big, and we do not have a drill bit big enough to be able to do that, but my neighbor Justin does, so I'm gonna run down to his shop and see if I can steal his. There should be a thing over here with a hole saw kit in it. Hole saw update report. It is not at Justin's house. It is in his work trailer, which is 30 minutes away. So I'm now on my way to the main heated shop to see if I can find something that will make do. So I'm thinking we have that one adjustable one somewhere. Yeah, that's what I need. That'll work. This is not exactly what I was planning on using when I wanted to find a hole saw bit. This is an adjustable one, and in the past it really doesn't do the greatest of job. This guy is an oldie, but I think it's gonna work. Look at that, Roman.
Yeah, it's in the hole.
Underneath of the winch, our floor joists run this direction. So Roman's got this whole configuration of 2x6s laid out. So that way the entire load is spread out over the next several sets of floor joists. And we still have that big beam running underneath the floor right here with the ugly poles underneath of it. So that's actually going to do some help supporting this side over here. And then once we get over here on these floor joists, these ones are sitting on top of our block wall yet. So we have some really nice strength over here. It's really just right here in the middle is what we have weak. Basically right where this wall is, which is right underneath where this big post is. So we're trying to not collapse our floor here, so that's why we have it. So Roman is going to take some T30 screws. We got these big thick honkers, and we are going to run a few of these down inside of here to keep this mounted down to our blocking system. And then we have the hole drilled now, and so we got our cable. We're just gonna lower it down, and we're gonna hook it up to the I-beam, and then hopefully we'll just be able to lift this right up, and it'll lift the beam up off the floor. So we'll see how it works.
Oh, I guess I don't need you.
This winch is actually a pretty cool unit. We have it in free spool right now, so I need to turn this, so then when we pull on it, it won't allow it to pull anymore. On free spool, Roman could just keep pulling, and he could pull exactly where he needed to go with it. But now it's all locked and engaged, so then when we take the wireless remote, we can just pull it in, and it'll actually start to spool this back up. So this is going to allow us to be able to do stuff down in the basement, to keep an eye on what's going on down there. But when we get it off the floor initially, I am gonna stand up here, just make sure everything is looking good with what we got going on here. And I am also going to toss just a couple more screws down on this side. We get one opportunity to do this, and it would just be the pits if one of these broke and something fell down there. Because if that beam lands on you, I don't even want to imagine what that would be like. So we're gonna try to brace this up nice and see how it works.
We want to find dead center of this beam so we are not running into an issue of this beam wanting to teeter-totter on us, which it still will, but we don't want it to lose balance so much that it will just slide one way. Ideally we want actually the sling, but we don't have a sling, so we'll try to do the best what we can with this.
All right, I'm gonna gently pull up on it.
Okay, it's almost up the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely not centered for whatever reason. Oh. No, we're good. We're balanced.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So close. Yep.
Now?
Lower it down. It's on there.
Woo. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our I-beam installed. I want to give a big thank you to my friend Nick, who showed up to help us. He used to be an iron worker, so he had much more experience working with these giant I-beams than Roman and I did, and he was a massive help, so thank you, Nick. We did have a little bit of difficulty getting things up. I apologize for not talking through the process of what we were doing very much. We were very much so on edge because this beam weighing 700 pounds, being that high up in the air, if anything went wrong, it could fall on us, which would be extremely bad. If it landed on you right, you probably wouldn't be making it through that. So we were just trying to be extremely vigilant on making sure everything was good with the jack. We weren't bumping into anything. And then since the I-beam was kind of balancing up there, we were just focusing and making sure that everybody was safe and that we were able to get it up into place, which we did. It is now sitting on the foundation wall on this side, and it is sitting on the block wall on that side. So it is officially not going anywhere. We are going to leave our bottle jack in place right now. It is holding up our 4-pack of floor joists where we have the big post inside of the kitchen right there. So that is still holding that up. The I-beam is sitting on top of this block wall here in the middle. Now we still need to catch those 2 floor joists. That is part of the 4-pack of floor joists. So in order for us to slide this over, that means that our I-beam is going to be located halfway on the wall. And so we actually need to add a little bit more concrete down here. So just like what we did right here, we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna make it go just a little bit further. So that way we can take a 2x6 and put it right up here inside of this cavity. And then our big I-beam will actually sit right on top of that 2x6. So that way everything will be held up nice and we don't have to worry about that beam possibly tipping over. But this side over here looks pretty good. We don't really have to do much here. We are going to be putting in another post that will go down to that little pad that we made right there. So that way some of our load will be distributed to the exterior foundation wall and then some of it will be distributed right here. So that way we kind of have overkill in just 2 places carrying the load. And then we're actually going to be doing the exact same thing right here as well with that one. We are also going to have to make some brackets up here where we bolt to the wall and then we run a little piece of metal on the bottom of the beam and then that will be welded to the beam and that will prevent our I-beam from ever being able to tip over. So we definitely still have a few things that need to be done over here, but the good news is since we are resting on the top over there and we are resting on the top over there, we can pretty much do all of these other things whenever we need to. So we are now officially ready to be able to get our giant I-beam that is going to go right here, and we will be ready to get it in place of this wooden LVL, and then we're just gonna simply butt that right into the side of the I-beam that we just put up, and then my friend Nick, he is going to weld all of this in for us, so that way it'll connect it to it, and then all of the load that this new I-beam is going to carry will be transferred right into the I-beam that we just installed today. And then that I-beam is distributing its load out to our exterior foundation wall and our new post, as well as the block wall in the middle and the new post that will be over there. If I had to put together a tiered list of the most difficult things we have done on the house up to this point, that was not one of the most difficult things, but it would be at the top of the list for one of the most on edge things that we have done. But now that we have that in place, that job is done. We don't have to mess with it anymore. We just have one big beam over here that we are going to do, which we'll be able to use the telehandler through this opening to be able to get lifted up. So this one, even though it's bigger, it should be a much, much safer working environment than what we had over there. But all in all, we may have been on edge, but we got it in. We had a really good day. We got a lot of stuff done, and it is dark out now. I'm getting hungry and I'm tired. So this is all we got for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.